Chapter 1. A Gift from the Darkness. The London rain fell relentlessly, tapping a dull, monotonous rhythm against the window pane of Arthur Vance's shabby attic apartment. Arthur sat staring blankly at the blinking cursor on his blank laptop screen. Beside him sat a bottle of cheap whiskey, drained to the bottom, and a landline phone that had just been unplugged after a threatening call from a debt collector. Arthur Vance was once the golden boy of detective fiction, but that was 10 years ago. Now, he was just an alcoholic, bankrupt of ideas and drowning in debt. Ding! A new email popped up at 3 a.m. Sender, the prompter. Subject, a gift for the fallen. Arthur squinted and clicked on the mail. No greeting, just a plot description. Victim, female, 25 years old. Location, apartment locked from the inside. Posture, hung upside down by piano wire. Blood from the severed throat dripping onto the floor, forming the shape of a giant red butterfly, the crimson butterfly. No fingerprints. The killer escaped through a ventilation duct that had its screws loosened 3 weeks prior. Arthur shuddered. It was too detailed, too brutal, but also too perfect. A deadly temptation for a drowning writer. Just borrowing the idea, Arthur muttered to himself, trembling hands placed on the keyboard. That night, he wrote as if possessed by a demon. 3 months later, the novel The Crimson Butterfly was released. It became a global phenomenon. Arthur Vance returned to the peak of glory. Chapter 2. Art and Blood. Arthur's joy lasted exactly 1 week. He was sitting in the VIP room of a high-end bar when the news on TV cut to a breaking report. Police had just found the body of a young model in a luxury apartment in Kensington. The girl was hung upside down. The blood on the floor painted the shape of a butterfly's wings. The glass in Arthur's hand dropped, shattering into pieces. The next morning, Detective Inspector Silas Thorne knocked on Arthur's door. Thorne was an old fox of Scotland Yard with cold gray eyes that seemed to see right through a person's soul. "Mr. Vance," Thorne said, his voice raspy with tobacco smoke. "I've read your book. Quite a vivid imagination, or should I call it a good memory? It's fiction, Inspector. I just researched anatomy thoroughly." Arthur tried to stay calm, though cold sweat ran down his spine. "The air vent," Thorne sneered. "In your book, the killer escapes through a vent with loosened screws. At the crime scene, we found the exact same thing. How do you explain that?" "Coincidence?" Thorne couldn't arrest Arthur because he had a perfect alibi. On the night of the murder, Arthur was dead drunk at his book launch party with hundreds of witnesses. Thorne left, but left behind a warning. "I'll be watching you, Vance. Killers often like to return to admire their work." Chapter 3. The Puppet. Arthur intended to stop writing. He wanted to run away, but the prompter would not let him go. The second email arrived. "Great performance, Arthur, but the audience needs more. Don't stop, or I will send the original copy of this email to Inspector Thorne. You will be charged as an accomplice." Attached was the second script, The Silent Orchestra, poison gas in a theater. Arthur was cornered. He was terrified, yet held back by his greed for fame. He continued to write. He drank more to forget the guilt. He wrote in drunken stupors, waking up with completed manuscripts without remembering writing them. The second case occurred. A West End theater became a mass grave. Arthur's book sales skyrocketed, but his mind collapsed completely. He began to hallucinate. He felt the prompter was in his house, hiding behind the curtains, watching him sleep. Thorne parked his police car right across the street, like a vulture waiting for a carcass. Chapter 4. The Final Curtain. The third email arrived on a stormy night. Subject: The Final Chapter. Content: Target: D.I. Silas Thorne. Location: Warehouse, Dock 4. Time: 2 a.m. tonight. Write about the death of that nosy old man. Arthur screamed, throwing his laptop against the wall. "No, I won't do it anymore." He couldn't let Thorne die. If Thorne died, he would be the #1 suspect. Arthur decided to fight back. He had hired a hacker on the dark web a week ago to trace the prompter. His phone vibrated. The hacker sent a message. Found the original IP of the email. It's coming from an abandoned house in the suburbs, 13 Blackwood Road. Arthur grabbed the handgun he'd bought illegally from the black market. He made an anonymous call to the police, reporting that the Crimson Butterfly suspect was hiding at 13 Blackwood. Then he rushed to his car. He wanted to get there before the police. He wanted to kill the man who ruined his life with his own hands. Chapter 5. The Mirror Room. Number 13 Blackwood Road sat nestled in the woods, desolate and rotting. The front door was unlocked. Arthur kicked the door open, gun ready in hand. "Come out! The prompter! I know you're here!" he shouted. Only the wind whistled through the cracks. Arthur fumbled his way down to the basement, where a pale blue light shone out. The basement room reeked of mold. In the middle of the room was an old desk and a running computer. On the wall, Arthur was horrified to see hundreds of photos. Photos of Arthur sleeping, photos of Arthur eating, photos of Arthur typing on his computer in a drunken haze, photos of Arthur crying. What the hell? Arthur stepped back, tripping over a box. He opened the box. Inside was a roll of piano wire stained with dried blood from the first case and a gas mask from the second. Arthur tremblingly approached the computer. He saw the email browser open. Folder, scheduled emails. He clicked on it. Email, a gift for the fallen. Email, the silent orchestra. All were in the sent folder, and the sender was Arthur Vance himself. Arthur collapsed into the chair, staring at the black screen reflecting his own gaunt face. Fragments of memories came flooding back, nights of drinking until he blacked out, times he woke up with mud on his shoes, the gaps in his memory he thought were due to alcohol. There was no prompter. It was him, another personality, a demon born of despair, envy, and lust for fame. That personality awaked when Arthur was drunk, planned the murders, executed them, then returned here, drafted emails, and scheduled them to daytime Arthur. Arthur was manipulating himself. Chapter 6. Memoirs from Prison. Sirens wailed loudly outside. Red and blue lights swept across the basement window. "Arthur Vance, drop the gun!" Silas Thorne's voice rang out sharply. Thorne stepped into the basement, gun pointed straight at Arthur. He looked around the room, at the photos, at the box of evidence, then at Arthur sitting motionless. His eyes held no surprise, only a sad pity. "It's over, Arthur," Thorne said, his nickname calm. "Arthur?" He looked up, tears in his eyes. "Inspector, I found him, but he's not here." "He was always here, Arthur." Thorne lowered his gun, signaling his subordinates to handcuff Arthur. "We tracked your car's GPS every night you got drunk. We just needed you to lead us to where the evidence was hidden." Arthur was dragged away. He screamed, struggling. "No, I'm a writer. I'm a victim. The prompter did it, not me." Slam. The police van door slammed shut, trapping Arthur in darkness. He sat there, panting. Suddenly, the panic vanished. His back straightened. He ran a hand through his messy hair. The corners of his lips slowly curled up into a cold, cruel smile. In his head, a voice rang out, not the voice of the weak Arthur Vance. "Don't worry. Prison is a wonderful place to find new material. Our next book will be a masterpiece of non-fiction." Arthur Vance, or now the prompter, leaned his head back against the seat, whistling a cheerful tune as the police van sped into the London night.